Shalom, giving all praise unto Yahweh Shai Bashim Kodash. Double honors unto the apostles of Great Millstone. Honest you brothers to be pushing this truth in sincerity throughout the four corners of the earth. The Bavaya body are coming out here to give you this truth for the grace and mercy of Yahweh Bashim Shai Bashim Kodash. And it's going to be a relatively quick video. I'm going to go through some precepts dealing with World War III. And we can see with the situation out there within Israel, amongst them Amalekites. That particular things are kicking off, and indeed the scripture is fulfilled within the book of Mark, the 13th chapter, where it speaks about rumors of war. And we see these little wars and these nations rising up against nations, as prophesied within the scriptures. But like it says here within the scriptures, but the end is not yet. And it's indicative of what we're seeing, because we know indeed the last war, the world's war, the final war, is going to be fought after the CHIP has been mandated pursuant to the book of Revelations, the 13th chapter and the 16th verse on down. So these events that we see them, although they are exciting, we must put things into perspective and understand that particular prophecies are going to be fulfilled first. And as a result, this is a fulfillment of the book of Mark, the 13th chapter, and the 7th verse on down. These are the rumors of wars and the nations rising up against nations, but the end is not yet. But it's still beautiful to see, okay? But war is coming. And so too is the CHIP. It might be next year, man. Might be end of this year, next year. We definitely see the infrastructure coming together nicely for it. Mark 13:7, it says, "And when ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars, be not troubled, for such things must needs be, but the end is not yet," because we're still waiting for the CHIP, the Revelations, the 13th chapter, and the 16th verse to be fulfilled, where this man is going to crash out the economic system and bring the world to its knees. And the only way you're going to have comfort, if you will, in this system is to submit to the image of the beast. But there's an alternative way, which you get taught here at Great Millstone, which is to bow down before Yahweh Shai and follow the Lamb whithersoever the Lamb goeth. That's the option that we're going to take. Yahweh Shai, I'll be off that number. Okay, but indeed, the World War III is going to come. And we can go here to the book of Amos, Amos the 9th chapter, and the 8th verse. And what do we see within the scriptures? It says here, "Behold, the eyes of the Lord power upon a sinful kingdom." So these strings that we see being pulled throughout the four corners of the earth, which are going to ultimately lead to the World War III, is because the Most High has recorded all of this iniquity that happens throughout the four corners of the earth. And the Most High was going to judge these people for the iniquity that they commit and the offenses that they commit. You got a bunch of people out here that thought that they go away. You don't get away from the Most High, man. The Most High's eyes are 10,000 times brighter than the sun. You don't get away. There's no getting away. Okay? The eyes of the Most High upon a sinful kingdom, and I'll destroy from off the face of the earth 7 utterly. I'll not destroy the house of Jacob. And this is what we look forward to. The downfall of our enemy, the uplifting of the 12 tribes of Israel, the tents of Israel. And it even says it here, man. "For the Lord I command, and I'll sift the house of Israel from among all nations like corn is sifted in the sieve." And that's what's happening right now. We believe that number is sealed. We believe that sifting process is complete, or really about to be complete. And that's when these things are going to go into high gear. And, the path towards the CHIP and the path towards the war is going to be quick, snappy. Doesn't the scripture say, "Except those days be shortened, it shall not be left no flesh left to save." So these days are going to be quick. I mean, even this year is going super duper quick. Okay. But yeah, the Most High is going to sift the children of Israel from among all nations. And this leads me neatly into the book of Joel, the 3rd chapter, because there was a great scattering, and the destruction is going to come as a consequence of the controversy against Zion. For lo, Joel 3:1, "For lo, behold, in those days and that time will I bring again the captivity of Judah and Jerusalem." The same thing that we just read within the book of Amos 9:9. "And I'll also gather them and bring them down, and I'll also gather all the nations, Slakia." And this links up with the book of Mark, the 13th chapter. But it's like after that, after the rumors of war, is going to be the war to end all wars. And I'll bring them down to the valley of Yahweh Shaphat, and I'll plead with them there for my people and for my heritage Israel, whom they have scattered amongst the nations. So this war is indeed going to come. So again, like I said, just a quick video, just a quick hit. Without my say, all praise unto Yahweh Shai Bashim Kodash, double honors unto the apostles of Great Millstone. Honest you brothers to be pushing this truth in sincerity. Shalom.
ישראל, אנחנו במלחמה, לא במבצע, לא בסבבים, במלחמה. הבוקר חמאס פתח במתקפת פתע רצחני נגד מדינת ישראל ונגד אזרחיה. אנחנו בתוך זה משעות הבוקר המוקדמות. כינסתי את ראשי מערכת הביטחון. הנחיתי קודם כל לטהר את היישובים מהמחבלים שחדרו פנימה. הפעולה הזאת מתבצעת בשעות הללו. במקביל הוריתי לבצע גיוס מילואים נרחב ולהשיב מלחמה שערה בעוצמה ובהיקף שהאויב לא הכיר. האויב ישלם מחיר שהוא לא ידע כמותו.
Chief of Staff at the CIA and the Pentagon, and now an NBC News analyst. Jeremy, good morning. It's great to have you with us. So I think Director Brennan there, who we just heard from, his shock sort of says it all. He can't understand. He can't believe that this was pulled off. As somebody put it to me yesterday, Israeli intelligence knows when Hamas members move from the bedroom to the bathroom. So how could they pull this off? What's your analysis here?
Yeah, Willie. Well, Israel has not been on the ground in Gaza since 2005. But they maintain a comprehensive network of informants, of human sources, and have very sophisticated technical penetration of Hamas communications. So clearly there was a breakdown. Hamas has shown its ability to plan and execute a pretty sophisticated operation to breach the border in secret. So undoubtedly, this is going to require an extensive review inside the Israeli military establishment.
And sources, the credibility of which is for you to decide. Now, so what happened here really, beyond the mainstream media BS that you hear on CNN and Fox and all the rest of them? Well, the story here is much more complex than the age-old Israel versus the Palestinian conflict, which I'm not going to get into in this video because this is going to be a battleground for people to beef over history. That's not the point of this video. I want to talk about facts and what's happening right now on the ground. Now, like what it seems like on mainstream media, the Palestinians don't live in one single entity. In fact, there's two separate Palestinians. One is controlled by the Hamas, which is Gaza. The other one is controlled by the Palestinian Authority, which is basically a descendant of the PLO, and that controls the West Bank. Now, both of them chose completely different approaches to this whole conflict. On the one hand, the Palestinian Authority is trying to shame Israel in diplomatic avenues, basically going to the UN and going to all these avenues to get Israel to back down and work through a diplomatic solution to allow them to have better borders. On the other hand, Hamas is going on all-out war trying to destroy Israel, not forsaking the way of violence. Now, these two approaches birth absolutely different situations. On the one hand, the West Bank is prosperous. They have a stock exchange, they have nightclubs, restaurants. Life in the West Bank is quasi-normal, at least for the most part, and definitely way better than what's going on in Gaza. Gaza is basically a refugee camp that's out of control. People are starving, it's dirt poor, there's no resources, no infrastructure, it's absolutely chaotic. Now, I'm not here to play the blame game. I'm just giving you the situation on the ground. People in the West Bank have a decent life, somewhat. People in Gaza have a horrible life. Now, while the PLO dropped out of this violence route, for the most part, Hamas stayed in. And about 10 years ago, they had a beef with the Iranians, but they figured out a way to make friends. On the face of it, Hamas and the Iranians should never get along. You see, the Iranians are Shiites, and Hamas are Sunnis. They really hate each other. And when I say really, I mean really. Now, the crazy part is that as much as they hate each other, they both hate Israel more. And that's why about 10 years ago, they made a pact to work together to destroy Israel. Now, effectively, what happened is that Hamas became a proxy for the Iranians, much like the Hezbollah up in the north of Israel and Lebanon, and much like the Houthi rebels in Yemen. Iranians love to operate via these proxies, and Hamas basically taking the money of Iran became such proxy. But the real question here is why now? If Iran was running Hamas for over a decade, why launch this offensive now? What triggered this? Now, on the face of it, and what you see in mainstream media, is that this was the 50th anniversary of the 1973 October War, as it's called on the Arab side, and the Yom Kippur War, as it's called on the Israeli side, a war in which Israel was attacked by multiple fronts and still beat the living crap out of these countries, which is a huge embarrassment. And them basically doing it on the 50th anniversary was some sort of an amends, to fix the shame of the 1973 defeat. The other reasons that were given is encroachments by the Israeli side on the Al-Aqsa Mosque, which, number one, is not a new thing. It keeps happening all the time. You have militants basically throwing rocks and shooting at Israeli soldiers. They chase them. They walk into the Al-Aqsa Mosque. The Israeli police chases them into Al-Aqsa Mosque, and then, the whole festival starts about how Israel is encroaching on Al-Aqsa Mosque. I'm not here to take sides. I'm just describing why this isn't news. This has been happening for a while. And Israel has no plans to demolish the Al-Aqsa Mosque, nor to rebuild their own temple on that mountain, which is a whole different story that the Palestinians are selling that narrative. Absolute nonsense. They're also talking about, their own agenda and how they've been imprisoned for so long and they actually have, finally blew up. All this may be true. They might actually got to a boiling point because of their relationship with Israel. They might be annoyed more now by the Al-Aqsa Mosque encroachments. They might be more mad right now because of the 50th anniversary of the 1973 Yom Kippur/October War. All this may be true, but those are not the predominant reasons why now. The reason why now actually has to do with a country far, far away, and it's not the United States. It is the Saudi Arabians. Why Saudi Arabia? Well, you see, the Saudis are the most important Arab nation in the world. Sorry, all Arab nations, they are. They have the most amounts of influence, money, oil, policy making. Whatever the Saudi says goes. They control OPEC. They control the Arabic narrative. And the one enemy that they have in the world is actually Iran. Iranians hate the Saudis, and they've been very active at trying to hurt Saudi Arabia as much as they can, including a drone strike on Aramco, which is the Saudi company, by the Houthi rebels, which is a proxy of Iran, just a little while ago.